Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast, where we're sharing inspiring stories from business owners, entrepreneurs, and real estate investors on the pursuit of wealth and financial freedom. This episode of the Inspire to Invest podcast has been brought to you by the Wealth Club. Hey everybody, welcome to Inspire to Invest. I've got Gabriella Godde here with me from Palmdale, California. She's a wealth builder with more than 25 years experience in the mortgage industry, working with customers ranging from first-time home buyers to self-employed entrepreneurs and investors. She specifically loves facilitating financing to help clients achieve their goals of homeownership or real estate investment. So thank you for taking time out of your day today. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Serena.
So obviously you're really deeply embedded in the financing industry. How did you get involved in that? And really, where did the real estate investing come into the picture as well?
I started pretty young. At 23 years old, I bought a house in Palm Springs that was a vacation home with 10% down.
Wow.
And then at 25 years old, I bought a condo in Malibu. I was not in the
shabby.
I know. Somehow I landed in there doing that. And I didn't know at the time that it was the best decision of my life.
Yeah.
But at 23 and 25, I really didn't know what I was doing in the industry of wealth building with homes.
Yeah.
So those two homes that I did buy, I actually gave them back to the bank. So I was not able to hold on to them. And it wasn't because there wasn't equity. It was just because I didn't know what I was doing. And really, all I had to do is hire property managements to rent them out and take care of them. And I didn't realize that that's all I needed at the time. I felt overwhelmed. I had the Malibu condo. I bought it for $260,000. If I would have held on to it, it is worth today over $1 million in Malibu.
Wow.
So just some mistakes that I did when I was very young, bought a couple homes. I started young, but didn't know what to do. And so lost those two homes.
Yeah.
And then when I would say 10 years later is when I got into the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
And by fault again, I just kind of landed in there.
Yeah.
And it just taught me the best things in life as far as keeping your credit clean, to be able to purchase more homes. And at that point, then I started learning about the industry and then becoming the investor now.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the common issues that you see that, maybe people aren't setting themselves up appropriately for success based on some of your past experiences?
I think that people need to know that if they are a W-2 earner and they're making let's just say they're making 100,000 a year, they should be buying a house. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't realize that paying rent is like throwing money out the window. And when you own a house, it's like putting money in the bank savings for you because you're building equity on that house.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, I bought a house in 2020 for my daughter with my daughter. We kept it for 3 years, sold it, and made over 200,000. That was just recent. So there's all kinds of stories like that you could be doing with houses to get yourself to build equity, or not build equity, but build money a lot faster than stocks. And of course you could do it on stocks, but stocks it's such a gamble. Whereas a home, it's not as big of a gamble as it is. So I'm just very happy about this industry that I'm in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, can you talk a little bit more about what your portfolio looks like at the moment, and if you continue to kind of scale and grow after, these earlier investments?
Right now, I have a owner occupied that I live in that it's 2.5 acres. I could split it and put another house on it, and that's what I plan on doing on this property. I also plan on renting this property out within a year. Moving into another house that I have that I inherited, but that one I'm now have the architects and I am building that one ground up to be a beautiful house. It's the house I grew up in. I also was born in Mexico and moved to California. I moved to this house when I was 2 years old, and so now I'm just inheriting this house. So instead of leaving it the way it is, I mean, it's a house that's in $1 million property location. It could be up to $2 million right there. but my parents, now I look up to my parents. They own a lot of properties as well. They don't have any loans on those properties. They bought them, and then they just paid them off and they have never refinanced, never pulled equity out.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've learned from them that, basically you're able to hold on some more houses. So gonna turn my house into a rental, build that house out, have another rental that I have, and then I'm also ownership in Mexico. So we want to build a retreat in Mexico, and
Mhm.
then also remodel another house that's in Mexico. So right now my hands are pretty full with everything that I do have,
Yeah.
but I do also want to look into other opportunities because maybe fix and flips.
Yeah.
Basically continuing, because this is where I've built the most wealth is through the industry of homes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Whereabouts in Mexico is that property?
It is close to Puerto Vallarta, so it's about 3 hours past Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. Nice.
It's
Yeah.
basically
Just
it's close to where I was born. So I was born outside of Guadalajara, which is close to Puerto Vallarta. So
yeah.
right in between is where I was born, but then our houses are right on the beach of close to Puerto Vallarta.
Nice. And then in terms of just something that you would perceive as something that you're most proud of or something you'd look at as your biggest success, what would that be and why?
Well, my biggest success, if we're talking family, would be my family, my 4 kids. But in real estate, it would be basically me and my husband were buying homes every like 2 years. And if you buy a home and you buy it owner occupied, live there for 2 years and then sell it, you're not going to get the capital gains. So
Hmm.
that's what we did for a while. And then the home that I live in now, we bought it in 2009. Now, at the time, our credit wasn't the greatest to buy it. So we went up to the owner, the seller, and ask them to do a lease options. We actually have done 2 lease options in our time, but we've bought 14 homes total,
Well,
but 2 of them were lease options. One was back in 2001, and then the other one was in 2009 when we bought this house. So I guess my biggest accomplishment, I would think, would be is to be able to buy a house even if my credit wasn't perfect. I saw a roundabout way to do it, and that's basically with the lease option.
yeah.
You kind of have to be in the industry to get that part done. So you need someone guiding you of what to do if you would buy a house. Basically, you're buying a house, you're paying rent, but let's say you're paying them $1,000 extra a month for that house on top of your rent.
Yeah.
And that $1,000 a month, let's say we did that for a year, that would be 12,000 that would go down to the down payment. So
Yeah.
we were able to do that just because I was in the business being creative. And now we have the one house that we bought in 2001. We were able to buy it for 240. We sold it for 500 and something. So once again, just building wealth for our savings account.
Yeah, no, I think we call that rent to own here. So it's interesting to see
Okay.
the different terminology in a different location. Now, in terms of obstacles and challenges, what would you say is something that you have struggled with as you've been trying to kind of grow and diversify in real estate?
I think for me and my husband, we are both self-employed. So when you are self-employed, your options for your down payment is not as good as a W-2 earner.
Yeah.
So basically, as a self-employed in California or in the States, it's basically you're looking at 10% down to purchase, and then the interest rate's like a point higher than your normal. If you, I wish me and my husband were W-2 earners again. I would be then again buying again over and over again every year. I think I would do it every year.
Yeah.
But since we're having to put more money down, we don't do it as often, but we're still finding different ways to buy houses. But I would say that's the challenge for us is we're self-employed.
Now, for us here in Canada, if you're buying something commercial, so I believe it's 5 or 6 units and above, it's the property and the income of the property that qualifies, not so much a bearing on your personal finances. Is that the same where you're located?
Well, in where we're located, 1 to 4 units is considered a single family, and so
Yeah.
you could buy with the lowest. So, for instance, up to 4 units, you could purchase with 3.5% down as long as you're a W-2 earner.
Okay.
Um, if you're self-employed, of course you could still qualify, but that's as long as you have the net income. We look at the net, and which we look at the net income for your tax returns opposed to the gross income. And a lot of people are writing that off, so that way it's not going to, basically with their expenses, they're writing it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say 3.5% up to 4 units. When you get to 5 units and above, you're talking more like 20%, 30% down.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think that for the investors that I've connected with, a lot of them will be raising money through joint ventures or, other partners and stuff like that when you're looking at those bigger properties. But in general, like they find that it's easier to qualify because, again, being self-employed, it's challenging on the residential side, but commercially, it's really the value of the property and the income that they're looking at more so than like what you
Correct.
have on. For us, it would be like a T4, which is probably equivalent to your W-2 in the States.
Yes, and that's definitely something I want to get into more and more. As you are building your networking net worth with different people, that's where you're also learning different
Yeah.
things. So,
Yeah.
doing these podcasts for me, I've been able to meet a lot of people, and so that's where like definitely want to get into the flipping of properties and more of the investments of properties. But I definitely like helping also the people that come to me that maybe have challenged tax returns or different ways or portfolios to show them that if they buy another property, it's going to help their net worth as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, on that note, we're just going to take a really brief break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Wealth Club, an exclusive community dedicated to elevating your journey towards financial freedom, well-being, and success. The journey to 1% starts here. Join like-minded leaders and commit to growth for the mind, body, bankroll, and soul. Learn all the proven techniques to change your life forever with direct access to a massive team of more than 10 tried and true experts. Moreover, members enjoy priority access to investment opportunities, job openings, and partnerships within the community. For just $1 a day, members gain entry to specialized forums covering a wide spectrum of fields, discover diverse income streams, new opportunities, collaborations, and employment. Partake in weekly Zoom calls with our team and join monthly live Q&A sessions. Compete and win cash prizes. Active members top the leaderboard for monthly rewards. Ready to get started? Join today to unlock your true potential. To sign up, go to school.com/The Wealth Club. Thanks again for following along with this episode of Inspired to Invest. In addition to real estate, investing, and running my own brand experience agency for 18 years, I also published a book called The Accidental Entrepreneur in October of 2021. This is my story, and it chronicles how I turned tragedy into triumph to embrace my destiny in entrepreneurship. If you're interested in picking up a copy, you can find the link at serenahomesrealtor.com, and you can also find my link tree with all of the retailers in the details below. Thanks again for your support. Inspired to Invest is proud to support the Beyond Success program. In today's complex world, it's absolutely crucial for our youth to learn how to take charge of their financial future. We believe that every young person deserves access to accurate, practical financial information. Designed to bridge the gap, the Beyond Success program leverages a comprehensive educational bootcamp to equip young minds with essential financial literacy skills. At Beyond Success, it's not just about teaching financial literacy, it's also about fostering a foundation for a prosperous and empowered future. Join us. Together we can build a brighter financial future for the next generations. Join us. Together we can build a brighter financial future for the next generations. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspired to Invest. I've got Gabriella Godde here with me today, and she's from Palmdale, California, and she has been working in the financing industry, supporting homeowners and real estate investors for over 25 years. So before the break, we were talking about her experiences in terms of buying and selling multiple properties. And I guess one of the questions that I have for you, I'm not sure if you've got something that comes to mind, is what's the craziest thing that you've ever experienced as a real estate investor, or maybe a story that even one of your clients has told you about?
I think, I don't know about the craziest, but what I do enjoy is the FHA 203K loan. What that does for a buyer is you can buy a house, you could look at that house, and let's just say it needs a total remodel done. And basically what we do is we ask the appraiser, we get a contractor to give us a bid up front. Then we ask the appraiser to appraise the property as if it's already has all the remodeling done. So that appraisal value goes up higher.
Yeah.
That buyer is only putting 3.5% down. We get the seller, sometimes we get the seller to pay the closing costs.
Yeah.
So all they're coming in with is 3.5. But let's say now we're getting $35,000 to $100,000 to remodel that home, and
Yeah.
it goes into their loan, and then they are able to put it in their loan. They're able to have a contractor start on the house right when they close, and within 6 months get that house, rehabbed. So a lot of times I think buyers, when they're out there looking with real estate agents, I think a lot of them maybe don't know, like, oh, there is a loan out there to do that. So I think that's one of the craziest things as
Yeah.
far as buyers not knowing that that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously there's just even sometimes small things that people are discouraged from a home, right? Like a lot of people don't see it for what it could be. They're just looking at it for what it is at the moment. Now that was quite the mouthful in terms of the type of loan that was.
Okay.
Are you able to break that acronym down?
Yes, it's a FHA 203K.
Okay.
So basically it's just your traditional FHA loan, which is for first-time home buyers.
Okay.
You don't have to be a first-time home buyer to buy it, to use it. You just have to have one FHA at a time. So it's a government-backed, it's the government bank loan, backed loan from us. And so I believe it's one of the best loans that we offer. It has the lowest interest rate with the lowest down.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now that kind of segues into my next question about advice. What would you say some of the best advice that you'd have for someone that is starting out trying to build their real estate portfolio?
I would say that your first loan is to purchase with an FHA loan, 3.5% down. Keep that home for, let's say, 5 years. Refinance that one into a conventional in the future once there's enough equity to then get rid of the PMI.
Yeah.
So there's that one part of it. But after you buy with an FHA loan, the next step I would do is 1 to 2 years after that,
Yeah.
buy another home, move from this FHA owner occupied, turn that into a rental, move in, and then purchase another one with 5% down conventional, I believe is the best steps.
Nice. I know in terms of lessons and things like that, is there anything that comes to mind that you wish you would do differently, knowing what you know now?
When I was younger, definitely credit was a challenge as far as keeping it up to par. And then once I got in the industry, I really figured out how to do my credit. So basically on your credit cards, keep them at 30% from the limit, paying them on time, of course. And then also another trick that I did long ago was I added my son and my daughter to my credit card, to
Yeah.
my American Express. And not that they need to charge on it or anything like that. It just builds their credit really
Yeah.
fast. Both my
Is there
kids.
an age for that, like that they need to be in order to add them?
I believe it's in, I don't know the age, but I think it's 16. I remember when I first got credit, it was 16 they allowed me to, but I think
Yeah.
at 16 is a good age to do that.
Yeah.
And then both my daughter and son, they've had 740 plus FICO scores all their lives.
Yeah.
And so it really helps them out as far as the future. I also, another thing I would suggest is parents to help their children buy a house. I always say, instead of throwing your child a big wedding, put money into a down payment for a house opposed to a big wedding. And of course you could have a small wedding, but just, use some of the money for buying a house.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Now, you talked a lot about the different projects you have going on right now between, the property in Mexico and at home. What would you say is next for you in terms of your long-term plans? Like, do you have a vision in terms of how big you want to build your portfolio or other avenues that you kind of want to progress into?
My plan is, my parents, when I was 16 years old, they ended up moving to Mexico 6 months out of the year and then coming back to California 6 months out of the year. So my goal is to build the portfolio to where I can be living in Mexico. I don't think I'm going to do 6 months. I might do 3 months at a time because all my 4 children are here.
Yeah.
But just definitely want to be able to have that portfolio, building a resort in Mexico, building Airbnb in Mexico. So two different projects,
Yeah.
and then continuing to do fix and flips over here in California.
Yeah. Now, in terms of things like how real estate investing has changed your life in terms of time, freedom, opportunities, how would you say that that looks now compared to maybe what you think it would be like had you not gone down this path?
If I didn't go down this path, I would be living off of the money that I've made, on my own. I've done very well for my business. I mean, since I would say 2019 on, it's been really good years for me. Before that, let's just say before that was like 100,000 a year type thing. But if you think about it, you can't really save up money off of that income. So what it has done for me is it has bought me other homes. It has made our lifestyle much more comfortable for us and the kids.
Yeah.
As you know, sales is, I believe, the best industry to be in. Whatever you're doing, sales is where you're going to make the most money. But
Yeah.
you also want to be able to get there faster. And I believe that buying houses is the way to get there faster.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree as well. Now, obviously, the name of this podcast is Inspired to Invest. So I always like to ask people if there's a particular quote that motivates or inspires them.
My quote is, I could do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. I'm very backed by God, and that's where my strength comes from.
Awesome. Now, is there anything that you want to leave anyone that could be listening or watching with?
Just that I wish that I would have purchased more houses as I went. My parents, where I inherited that house back in the 80s, I think they were able to buy our neighbor's house or for like $20,000. And I'm like, wow. So I would just say, I know the sales prices are a lot higher now, but they're not going to go lower. They're only going to go higher. And if you can't afford to purchase a single family house by yourself, purchase it with another friend, purchase it with a family, someone that you trust. Both live there for like 5 to 10 years and then take that equity in the future for yourselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a great thing. It's something that even my mom has talked about with, our grandparents, like they could buy cottage properties for $600. And now those same properties, just the land could be selling for 500,000 to $1 million, right? So
Right.
that's not even having done anything if you just kind of kept it and maintained it for all
Right.
these years, right? So it's kind of crazy when you just think about that. Now, in terms of where people can find you, what's the best way for someone to get in touch if they'd like to reach you?
Either my name, Gabriella Godde, or California Mortgage Girl. If you Google me, you'll find me everywhere. I've been doing this for over 25 years and I'm all over the internet.
Great. So we'll leave that in the show notes below for anyone that wants to reach you. Of course, thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us today. For anyone that is watching or listening, if you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe or leave us a review. You can also follow along on social at Inspired to Invest Podcast. And remember, when you invest in yourself, the sky's the limit. Thanks again.
Thank you to the Wealth Club for bringing you this episode of Inspired to Invest. The views represented on this podcast are for general information only and does not constitute investment or other professional advice or an offering of securities. The host and guests featured on Inspired to Invest make no representations as to the performance of any particular investment. Should you decide to make an investment, you are responsible for conducting your own review and analysis. It is recommended that you obtain independent legal, accounting, and tax advice from licensed professionals.